Hello, dear friends. First, they denied the solar explosion and then rectified it on the Space Weather page. Scientists admit they were wrong in predicting the solar cycle. Opinion piece. Fire cannon. Spectacular phenomenon. It is not fire but plasma. It will arrive tomorrow. There will be no World War. The end of the movie is coming. Solar maximum will be more powerful than expected. Let's start. A solar magnetic filament erupted on Halloween night, carving a canyon of fire in the southern hemisphere of the Sun, according to the Space Weather Portal. The explosion measured approximately 100,000 kilometers long by 10,000 kilometers wide, almost twice the horizontal extent of the US territory. This gigantic size highlights the grandeur of the eruption, which is described as being of impressive magnitude. In just 2 minutes of video, we can see one of the most spectacular astronomical phenomena that can be observed on the surface of the Sun. Definition. A canyon fire is a large solar flare associated with a magnetic filament. It refers to an event on the Sun in which a filamentary structure of hot, magnetized gas erupted into the solar atmosphere, creating a large structure visible on the surface of the Sun. Solar matter is not fiery, but rather plasma. That is, it has particles in its atmosphere so hot that their electrons evaporate to create a charged gas that intervenes with the magnetic fields. These solar flares are spectacular and are associated with coronal mass ejections, which are releases of highly energetic solar material into space. This ejecta can affect the Earth in a variety of ways, such as causing the northern lights, interfering with satellite communications and navigation, among other effects. Initial models suggested it would not reach Earth. However, new models point to an indirect hit on November 4th. So, if so, the impact could cause a geomagnetic storm. On the other hand, physicist Keith Strong explained that the solar filament began to move slowly and at one point accelerated until it became unstable, which is why it ended up erupting. Burst. The filaments are large, bright arcs of solar material and magnetic fields, which form from the visible surface of the large star. These objects are also known as solar prominences when viewed from the edge of the Sun. When erupted, the filaments can produce solar flares and coronal mass ejections that can expel immense clouds of plasma and magnetic fields into the solar system. The Sun is a star that emits light and energy through nuclear processes in its core, and its activity includes phenomena such as solar flares and coronal mass ejections. These events can generate bursts of solar particles and radiation that can affect Earth and cause auroras, communications interference, and other effects. Scientific mistake. Scientists admit that they were wrong in predicting the solar cycle and that their predictions for the current cycle are far from reality. Now researchers say we are rapidly approaching a more intense peak of solar activity. Earlier this year, Life Science reported that solar maximum will likely arrive sooner and be more powerful than expected. The Sun is in constant motion and goes through alternating cycles of activity, including periods of calm known as solar minima and peaks of solar activity. when dark sunspots and solar flares are observed. The current solar cycle 25 began in early 2019. Researchers at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Space Weather Prediction Center previously predicted that solar flare activity would likely peak in 2025 and be less intense than the previous cycle 24. However, other solar scientists later observed that actual solar activity differed from the forecasts. Life Science reported in June of this year that solar activity is increasing faster than expected, with some experts predicting peak activity will occur before the end of 2024. On October 25th, the Space Weather Prediction Center admitted for the first time that its initial forecasts were not accurate enough and were not suitable for use by clients such as private space exploration and satellite services companies. The updated forecast indicates that solar activity will increase faster and reach higher levels than originally expected, with solar activity likely to peak between January and October next year. Various signs, such as the increase in the number of sunspots, powerful solar flares, northern lights at lower latitudes, and an increase in the temperature of the upper atmosphere, as well as the glow of the air and the disappearance of clouds that glow at night, indicate that the current solar maximum will be more intense and occur sooner than expected. A stronger peak in solar activity could have many consequences on Earth, such as disruption to radio communications, damage to energy infrastructure, radiation risks for passengers and astronauts, and problems with GPS satellites, and even their downfall, and an internet network blackout. Environmentalists warn that the stronger solar maximum could confuse animals that use Earth's magnetic field to orient themselves, such as large whales and migratory birds. We are all one sun. You are all your own sons of your own universes, says Thor through Galaxy Girl. You are warriors, each and every one. Like the mighty bear, you need nothing but your own strength and cunning to survive. And yet there is great tenderness in bear communities, and we see this forming in your kingdom. You are all your own sons of your own universes. Their lives, stacked against each other, hold big keys to unlocking them, and when they are on the other side, they will remember more, but they won't understand everything because you will be ready when you are ready. Truly, you are all you need. You are taught the opposite in your religious circles of lack and judgment that create fear, hostility, and hatred. This was designed to create discord and lower the frequency of participants. And yet you can see now that this is not necessary, that as source light beings having an experience within density, you are no better or worse than me, because we are all companions of light playing a game, interdimensional within time and without time. This holographic experience is immensely more complex than the human mind can contain. I don't understand it, but I can really hold on to it. This has nothing against your intelligence. It's just designed this way. Inside the game, you cannot understand the mystery completely. You are the anchors of light that stabilize the planet. When you are balanced, there is a great and tremendous opportunity for healing, peace, and balance. When there is imbalance, chaos ensues. Chaos and pain in a relationship and in a world. There are many things unbalanced in the world, and this is being rectified. This is part of the Lightworker's job to be balanced within, as this helps the planetary tilt and planetary core. You are critical to the success of this mission, and you are not alone. Your higher selves, your teams, your galactic family are watching and doing the work that you cannot do, just as you are doing the work that we cannot do. We are all a beautiful, powerful, and cohesive army of light, and nothing can stop us, as nothing can stop the light and love that is pouring out and bathing this universe at this time. The light has arrived. It is fully anchored, and there are horrors everywhere. There will be more things to balance, and that's why we have the best on the ground. Breaking news. Steve Biko assures that there will not be a nuclear war and that there will not be a world war. The conflict in the Middle East would be a continuation of 9/11, according to Paul Craig Roberts. It would also be an attempt to avoid bankruptcy. A group of UN special reporters warns that the Palestinian people are at serious risk of genocide, in quotes. Colonel Douglas MacGregor says Blinken is trying to create a war against Iran. Iran and its allies seek to avoid a broader war. The President of the European Council, Charles Michel, attacks the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, because she rejects the call to end the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. In Europe, they say the US has played too hard to be a superpower, in quotes. Too often, it succumbs to the might of its own superpower and fails to prioritize its foreign policy commitments, close quotes, writes Jeremy Shapiro, research director at the European Council of Foreign Affairs. Elon Musk believes that Soros hates humanity and supports policies that erode the fabric of civilization, in quotes. The White Hats investigate General Smith's heart attack according to Michael Baxter. He may have been shot with a heart attack pistol that caused him to spontaneously problem. It is a weapon that uses a dart of frozen water and a toxin. NASA tests an ion thruster for use in lunar orbit. Economy. There are many signs that the old order is collapsing. Last week, the world's oldest central bank, Sweden's Riksbank, collapsed. Looks like the tinfoil hat people were right. The recession bursts strongly into business results. The fear of a recession hovers over the earnings season in the US and Europe. The problem is in the warning signal that the country's main firms are sending about the economy. Gold imports from Russia to Hong Kong increased by 750% from January to September 2023 compared to the same period last year. Gold is playing a central role in the financial strategy of China and Russia. Spain receives 20% more tourists until September, with a new record at the end of the year. Almost 220,000 students are victims of bullying in Spain, and more than 44,000 attempted suicide, according to a survey. I was also a victim of bullying in my childhood. And that's all for today. Thanks a lot, dear friends.